Okay. Well, I'm still looking forward to this. Now, I actually had to read this book for school, and I have to say, it was a pretty good book. By no means was it perfect, and to be honest, it was more interesting than good, but it was still good. So when I heard that the movie was going to be made, when I heard that there's a movie coming out, I was pretty excited. I wanted to see it with my class, and that's exactly what we did. Now, first let's talk about the story. And since this is based on a book, the book A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. But since it's based on a book, it has to stay true to the source material if it's going to get critical praise. And to its credit, it does it pretty well. It manages to capture that feeling that you what that feeling that you felt when you were reading the books. However, there are some crucial things that they took out, especially the most relatable thing in my opinion. Now, something that might bother a few people is that the story can be rather predictable, but since it's based on a book, I'm gonna blame that on the book, and let's face it, it was executed in probably the best way possible. Now, getting on to cringeworthy moments, I only counted about a couple times that there were just a few cringeworthy moments. So don't really expect any cringe from this movie besides about like one or two parts. So let's get on to the special effects, probably the least important part about the film. And as you've probably heard before, seen from the trailers, it is just jaw dropping. I would be heartbroken if this film didn't get nominated for Best Visual Effects at the Oscars. Now it is time to talk about the acting. And for this movie, this was one of the things that I was really hoping for, besides, the story. And for this movie, I'm rather mixed. While some of the acting can be really, really good, some of it can be really, really bad. And I'm talking, of course, of Oprah's performance. She didn't do that great of a job, honestly. I'm not biased against her, I just didn't think she did that great of a job. And also, the actor of Calvin, he had kind of a Peter Rabbit scenario, if you know what I'm talking about. Some strong moments, some bad moments. When you mix the good and the bad, it just comes out bland. Now, let's talk about the most disappointing thing about this movie, and that is the characters. Well, at least one of the most disappointing things about the movie. There are some good characters, there are some bad characters, but honestly, I just felt torn that what they did to the characters, I didn't really care for. I mean, it wasn't terrible what they did, but it still wasn't good either. So, you have our main character, Meg. She's probably the best character in this film simply because, um, maybe she's not the best character in the film, excuse me, but, um, she's one of the most relatable. In my opinion, she was way more relatable in the book. And then you have Charles Wallace. There you go. There's the best character in the book. In the movie. Sorry. What am I talking about? Anyway, so this guy, he's probably the best character in this because um, he's the most accurate to the book. He's, excuse me. He's probably the character with the most likeness to the book. And then you have the other characters, Mrs. Witch, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. What's-It. Probably the most weird thing about this is probably Mrs. What's-It, simply because of the character that she is, which isn't very disappointing. It's kind of stupid on my part that I would assume her the way she isn't. And from what I can say is that she's a pretty likable character. There are also other characters. The most accurate to the book between the three are probably Mrs. Who. So overall, what did I think of the movie? I thought that, I kind of liked it. It was pretty good. It was pretty accurate to the book for the most part because of the story, but it is far from a perfect movie. But at the same time, it's really not that bad. I really think that Rotten Tomatoes was hard on this movie. And Rotten Tomatoes isn't always right, but they're almost right all the time. So, with this movie, this is a prime example that it's okay to like a film that Rotten Tomatoes hates.